Welcome. You're listening to the Rutten River Pursuits podcast. Join our epic pro staff around the Sonic Campfire for stories and adventures from our eastern mountains to the Chesapeake Salt. Let our highs and lows inspire you to take to the outdoors.
You are listening to the Rutten River Pursuits podcast. This episode is brought to you by Dusk to Dawn Bow Fishing.
Are you looking for an awesome outdoor adventure this summer? Well, the ultimate bow fishing experience awaits. Go to dusktodawbowfishing.com or call Captain Mark Spagnola at 717-324-1649 to reserve a spot on the boat. Captain Mark has something for all ages and skill levels, so be sure to go check him out.
Hey guys, I am Will.
It's Uncle Buck.
I'm Steve.
Sammy P.
And now I'm Kyle.
How's it going, guys?
Pretty good.
Good. It's going great, guys.
Good.
Great weather on us.
Busy week. We got a new guest in the podcast tonight. Sammy, where you been?
Hiding.
Hiding.
Hiding from
Well,
you guys.
you don't love us
Why would
anymore.
you hide from us?
No, I don't love anybody anymore, I
You
guess.
told me you loved me.
Signed, Loveless, and Palmyra.
Yep.
That breaks my heart, Sammy.
Now, trying to get things done, situated with some things at home, so.
But we missed
They
you.
squared away.
Yeah.
I figured you guys did.
Missed you.
We did.
It's not the same without the general hang around.
No. Is it me or did your truck shrink or something? Something
Yeah.
was different about it out there.
Yeah, I know. That's the part I hate about that.
What happened, Sammy?
Needs to get a lift on it. Downsized. Got a 1500 instead of gas, instead of a diesel.
Yeah.
You're probably better off in the wallet. Going
Well,
that way.
yeah, it's gonna save me a lot of money in the long run.
That's good.
Still a nice looking truck.
Yeah, it is.
Nothing to shake a stick at.
Yeah, it's no slouch.
You were able to
What?
transfer that cab on over, weren't you?
Yeah, that's a
I don't
nice thing
understand
about that.
that. That diesel was gigantic. And I guess a bed size is a bed size. I don't know.
Well, Chevy, they got the 6.6 bed and 8 foot, and then with the 1500s, they got the 5.8, and then they get the 6.6. So 6.6 is the standard for 1500s, which will be the standard for, the regular short bed for the 2500s. So that's why I was able to swap it over.
Well, you lucked out.
They didn't luck out. I told them that's
Maybe,
what I wanted.
yeah, maybe he planned it that way.
Yeah.
Well, you planned it that way.
Well, you planned it that way then.
Well, you got that car salesman good.
Then well played, Sammy P.
Well played.
Touche.
Well played.
Touches.
No, I told them what I wanted, and that's what I wanted.
Put your foot
There
down.
you go.
They threw in.
You heard it
Nice
here
thing is
first.
they threw in bed liner and the black emblems.
Why does anybody sell a truck without a bed liner?
Or black emblems.
Or black emblems?
What about the undercoating?
I mean undercoating. That's
What do you mean undercoating?
Yeah,
The
what
one
do you
that
mean
they always charge
undercoating?
you for, and you can't ever get rid of it.
Simonized.
Yeah, Simonized.
Oh, can of Simonize.
Have any of you truck owners ever said, no, I don't want a bed, no, please.
Yeah, don't
Keep
get
the
me
bed
started
liner
on
out of
this.
that. I don't know why they just don't build those into, I'm getting off
It's
on
sprayed
a
on bed
tangent here.
liner. Like
Either way, whatever,
Yeah.
spray it on,
Put
hold
it
it in,
in.
whatever. I don't get it.
That's all right, Stevie.
I digress.
Indeed. Speaking of new things, Phil, you got something new this week too, didn't you?
Yeah, some big things have happened, guys. I'm grinning like the Cheshire cat here lately.
R2 Pat Ball.
Yeah,
Pappy.
I'm now pap on
Oh, man.
and grinning ear to ear, rolling both windows down in the truck just to fit my smile in, guys.
Good for you.
It's
That's
amazing.
This
Little
is
guy.
your first
My-
grandbaby, right?
Yeah, grandbaby.
Yep. You're old now.
I am. I guess I officially have earned that big truck with the pappy cap on it.
And you said it's a boy, Phil.
It's a boy. Colt Tyler Buckman was born on 4/11, weighing 8 pounds and 20 inches long.
It's a good, healthy baby.
Amen.
Mom and baby, and everybody's good.
Everybody's great. 10
Everybody's
fingers, 10
home.
toes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hope we get a peacock mass that size.
That would be a good
We'll name him Colt.
Colt. Oh, that's great. I hope he do so I can see a peacock bass named Colt.
Stevie, you got anything new?
Yeah, but
You've been on some adventures, though, haven't you?
yeah, and I'm debating. I don't know how much. Like, I could probably talk a while about this.
Talk about it.
I don't know. Like, you got. I'll start telling you.
Yeah, I mean, because you're not saying anything right now.
You guys tell me if I'm giving too much information.
Use your words.
because you know how I am.
Just make a long story short.
Short story short. So the trophy season for striped bass is starting April 15th this week in the Chesapeake Bay. For the last several years, my experience has been the week before that has been there's less crowds and the fishing's been spectacular. So last week during the podcast, Catfish says, or right before the podcast, Catfish says, I'm going down. Who wants to go? And it took me about a second and a half to say, yeah, I'm there. Let's do it. For people that don't know the way Atlantic striped bass work, they live in the ocean. Then to spawn in the spring, when the waters gets into about the mid 40s, they work their way into freshwater tidal rivers to do their spawning. And the vast majority of all Atlantic striped bass spawn in the Chesapeake Bay. So it's like 70, 80, 90%, something like that, start working up into the bay. So you got all these fish in a small area for a short time each year. So you can catch, some of the biggest fish of that species in a small area. You have a pretty good chance to do it, but it's only a short window. Catfish and I, make plans to get down there. We were going to go Monday morning. He called me on Sunday, said I got bait sitting in a bucket waiting for us at, for 3 a.m. pickup for me. The Solunar forecast looked spectacular for Monday. Like, all signs were pointing that this was going to be an epic day. So I set my alarm for 4 a.m. 5:45 rolls around, and I wake up. And I'm right now I'm 2 hours late. So I'm freaking out, shouting in the house, waking up everybody. And I managed to get in the car.
Help me, Oprah.
Oh, it was bad. Like, I hadn't been that angry in a long time. Like, that literally made me fuming mad.
Did you shut your alarm off?
No. So my phone says, I wake up and look at my phone and it says silenced after 1 minute. I do have anger issues. Only when it comes to
missing fishing.
Missing fishing. So I get in the car and start heading towards Annapolis and have to stop, to get lunch because we were planning on spending the entire day there. And I was hoping to make the sunrise bite, which is about 6:30, but I blew that. Story short,
You blew it.
you blew it. I get to Sandy Point. There's only a couple people there. Catfish already has our spot staked out.
Thank God.
Yeah. It's a good thing it wasn't up to me. So he had bought bait, and the bait to use down there this time of year is bloodworms, and those things aren't cheap.
And they look crazy.
And they are crazy. Like, he bought the jumbo bloodworms, and they're about $2.
Like the wings or the chicken legs that Kyle bought tonight.
Yeah, pterodactyl.
Massive.
That was like a baby turkey. But so he's got the bait, and we fished down there for a while, for 5 or 6 hours, and we went through. I don't know.
You got to hurry this thing along.
I am.
Look, Sammy's dozing.
It says fishing-induced narcolepsy.
Yeah.
So
we're going to have to put a CPAP on him here soon.
So we fished there a while and had basically just caught a bunch of there was a bunch of bait thieves there, small ones, just pecking away at these bloodworms. And, at a $2 a worm, you don't want to, hang out doing that very long. So we went through like 18 of these jumbo bloodworms, and with only
You cut them in half, or you let them?
we cut them up. We
Gotta conserve.
cut them at least in half.
Sure.
But some of them you put on whole there. I was using some pretty big hooks, so you thread it on there as much as you can. It looks like a big steak, but. So we even downsized our hook sizes, which remember this because that's important later. So we downsized our hooks a little a little because we knew there were smaller fish out there, but that didn't really help. So after 6 hours, we caught 3 fish and burned through $40 worth of bait. So we were almost out, decided to go get bait and try something
You guys
new.
had to cut bait.
We literally cut bait. We had fish, then it was time to cut bait. So we went and got more bait. The folks at the bait shop had said there's a pier on the other side of the bridge where people were catching 50-inch stripers. And we were at Bass Pro doing the turkey event a few weeks before. I was talking with somebody there, and they were saying the exact same thing. I didn't really believe anybody because that's just that's the fishing world. So we get to this pier, we cross the bridge. It's $4 a car to cross the bridge, and it's $10 to park at this.
So someone
pier.
tells you to cast your nets on the other side.
Reluctantly, we listened. Reluctantly,
Just like the
disciples.
disciples.
Yeah. So we casted our nets to the other side, to the pier, and we get there, and nobody is catching anything. In fact, we were talking with this one guy, and the pier's pretty packed. Talking with this one guy and said, yeah, we were catching them at Sandy Point, some small ones, and on bloodworms. And this guy says, I hope you have magic bloodworms because nothing's happening over here. So it's me and Catfish and two.
What'd Catfish say?
He didn't say anything.
I sure do.
It was me and Catfish, two Pennsylvania redneck fishermen on this whole pier full of Maryland, Maryland folks. So we set up and sling the bait out there. It was pretty windy.
Chuck those buggers.
We chucked those buggers out there. It was windy. Lines were getting crossed. It was.
I don't think there's been an episode since the Carrie-Zoka episode that we haven't said chuck those buggers.
It's an easy one to reuse.
We've been chucking buggers ever since.
Yeah, that was several weeks too. So we got all our bait in the water, and 20 minutes into it, I see Catfish laying into one, and the drag's running.
What, a dude on the pier or a fish?
A Marylander.
A fish this time. So he gets something good. It's peel and drag off. He's leaning into it, leaning, and he fights it for a minute and a half, 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. And I can see it. He's 30, might be 30 yards off the pier.
Did you have to get him like a belt?
Not for this one.
Yeah.
But so he's reeling hard, and I can see splashing out there. It's getting close, and then gone. It throws the hook because we had downsized. Yeah, we had downsized hooks because we were catching small stuff at Sandy Point. So we're feeling pretty good now because the guys on the pier are starting to watch the R2 boys catch some fish. So it's maybe we rebait, he rebaits, gets it back out there. About 20 minutes later, my 12-foot surf rod just starts going crazy. So I still had a decent size hook on there. So it was a 2, 3, 4 minute fight. Get the thing to the edge of the pier. My personal best striper is 42.5 inches. And I cut that a few years ago at a beach. But this one would have beat that. We got it up to the edge of the pier, realized we didn't have the pier net, which is pretty important when you're catching
from a pier.
40-inch fish on a pier. And the pier's about a 10-foot, 12-foot drop. So Catfish puts his gloves on. He's going to try to hand line this thing up, this 40-plus inch fish up. And he starts and gets maybe the head out of the water, and the leader breaks. I was using a 50-pound fluorocarbon leader. It breaks at the hook snell. So this was big. So that's it. There's the first. We finally see a fish. So we rebait. Out goes the hook. 30 minutes later, same rod.
Wham.
Even bigger wham. And this was a huge wham. I don't know how to describe it. It was a monster wham. And it's Catfish's turn. And he grabs the rod and he's saying, "This is a big one. This is a big one. This is a hip fish," he kept saying. He had to tuck the butt of the rod into his hip.
He said that to me on the phone. He's like, When have I ever had to tuck a rod in my hip?
He tucked it in, and I mean, if you look on our Instagram page, there's a video of the 40-something inch fish on there and us losing it. I got about a minute and a half of this fish, this big one, and had to stop because catfish was nice enough after fighting this fish for a few minutes to hand me the rod and give me a feel at this. And
What a sportsman.
What a brother.
It was awesome. But we get it. It's about 20 yards off the pier, and you can start seeing this thing come up. And it was the biggest striper I've ever seen in the water. You know, its scales, it was casting off this rainbow type color. It was just beautiful, gigantic monster fish. The words leave me, but I mean, I was just.
I don't think they did at all. I think the words are still there.
I can't. It's like I had a grandson.
Yeah, I'm there with you.
It was amazing.
Birth from the bay.
So same situation.
Was like what, 60 inches?
It was. I don't know. It was at least 50. It was at least a 50-inch fish.
What'd you name it?
We're still working on that. But we didn't. That's probably a good place to start. But I mean, it was just so catfish.
He's your white whale.
Me the rod.
That fish is your white whale.
I don't know.
Beckoning
you can imagine, like for a deer hunter, that's like a 14-point drop tine piebald deer you see on the first day of archery walk under your stand
of your arrow.
You know, so it was incredible. Same thing though happens. He actually has a guy grab his legs on the pier, and he's leaning over. Catfish does, like, buddy, I want you to get this fish, but I don't want you to fall in, because. I'm not that strong of a swimmer.
You're like, take it easy, Ahab.
Easy, Ahab.
Let me at him.
But same thing. He goes and grabs. He didn't even get this one that far out of the water, and it snapped the leader. So it had to be.
Is it faulty leader, or is it just monsters?
Was 50-pound leader, and when you tie a knot, it lessens the weight capacity of the leader. But I mean, the fish, a 50-inch striper is, could be 50 pounds or more. So it was just a monster fish. Like I'm getting choked up talking about it.
So what's the lesson learned here?
So the lesson
don't
is
forget
these 100-pound braid.
Yeah. Don't forget your pier net.
You know what? I'd still, even if I knew right now we were going to go back there and I'm not going to have a pier net, we'd still do it.
You guys should have.
And part of me is glad we didn't have the net, because there was a lot, like literally the whole pier like gathers around you when you're doing this.
Right.
There was a lot of people there, and we would have got that big, that fish could have been 18, 19, 20 years old. We get that 18-year-old fish up onto the pier, people would have been rubbing all over it. I know the fish is still alive, and still healthy
and breeding
because it really never came out of the water. So in a way, it's good we didn't.
Steve, a fish that big, female or a male?
I think it was probably a female. It looked like a female that hadn't spawned out yet. So she was pregnant. It was.
So she's a big breeder.
Yeah.
I typically just cut them off right at the pier anyway.
You do?
Yeah.
It was hard. I didn't want to, but it's.
Thinking now, why didn't you guys go grab Catfish's deeper rod with the 85-pound braid on it?
So he wasn't using a leader. And I typically fish with a fluorocarbon leader down there. I just always have it. He was tying his hook directly to the braid, and he actually had after I had left, after that fish I had to leave, he had another one that was about 30 inches on, and the braid didn't break, but the hook popped out. It was the same situation with the small hook. So I don't know. I know that's a long story, but
no, not at all. 21 minutes.
21 minutes.
It was short.
I've never talked 21 minutes in my life, but I can about striped bass. So anyways,
Good thing nobody else has anything to talk
yeah,
about.
thank goodness. Will, you got anything new?
I went. We did that archery thing at Burkersville. It was really nice.
Yeah, tell us about that. Try to keep it short, though.
We shot bows
At targets.
at targets in the woods.
That looked like fun.
Yeah, it was a great time. Sammy and I and Catfish. Catfish got around this weekend.
He slept. He was awake 52 hours with like a 2-hour nap, he said.
Yeah.
And I believe every second of that. I think he probably underestimated how many hours he was
Sleeps
awake.
with his eyes open.
He's a
my
madman.
Yeah.
No, it was fun. We had a good time. We had a little auction, and Sammy's his first time
Yeah.
doing the
it was fun.
3D.
First time,
Was it?
Sammy.
Yeah, I had a blast.
Oh, I thought you were a veteran there at Brickersville. No.
Nope.
That's cool. You go back next year?
Oh, yeah, we're planning on camping out next year.
Wish more people would have came.
Yeah.
Luckily, somebody has a bow now.
Yeah.
It was, we did one where, what was it, 40 yards? We ended up shooting 82 yards at it.
It was a straight shot.
Yeah.
There was no one around. It was just us on the course at that point. And you're walking up and you see it. And Catfish is like, Sammy, how far is that? And he just lets one fly, and then we all had to do it. So
Yeah. It was
You
fun.
hit it at 82 yards.
no, I didn't.
Oh.
No.
What pin do you use?
You
There
guess.
was none. Use the bottom of the scope housing or the sight housing.
Man.
Yeah, don't tell Will where his arrows are at. He gets a little frustrated.
What's wrong?
What happened?
Yeah, what?
Oh, go ahead and tell me all about it. I'd love to explore this.
We're shooting, and Will shot first, and then it was Catfish. And I had my rangefinder up. So, man, you really shot low on that one.
Yeah. And then
I thought Sammy was the one shooting
I
low.
was well. Here we were. He got all. Oh, did I
General
really shoot
Wound-a-Bear?
low? So I'm there busting up laughing, and then I ended up shooting like what? That was that one? With, no, that wasn't the one with the arm. I ended up shooting like what? Back in the guts.
yeah, he shot wide. He went wide left or whatever, and so I just made it a
Yeah.
point to let him know that where his arrow was.
Like, as you should.
He just had to rib at me, but the rest of the time it was like, he was shooting stuff in the leg and all kinds of things.
Yeah, I shot the lion in the head.
Yeah, that was a long shot across the pond.
Yeah, that was fun.
That wasn't intentional. They have at the very end of the one course, you have to shoot across the pond, and Sammy ended up connecting, but it was like
Yeah, right in the head.
right in the main, maybe trimmed his ear or something.
Is that intimidating like golfing when you have to hit the ball over the water?
It's all. I mean, you'd rather go long than short. Obviously, is what it is. You at those shots, you use like your cat arrow. You don't use a good arrow that it's already bent.
Arrow. Oh,
Story short.
so you'll have to teach me all these archery terms because
Yeah.
I got a bow.
You guys got to go next year.
Congratulations, Steve.
I will. I hope to. I got a bow, Sammy.
I got a bow.
Stevie's a bowman now.
That was what? That
I'm
was
an
our
archer.
longest shot. That was 63 yards. That was probably our longest shot out of that whole course.
Besides the one we made.
Yeah, but besides the one we made,
Our-
which I rather would have done that one in 82 yards.
Yeah. That was the longest one we had.
Yeah.
And then we did a night course, which was really,
Awesome.
really cool. We used headlamps, and Sammy actually had like a high-powered floodlight, go figure.
Like his
The one I keep in my
Sammy loves his
my LED light.
anything more than 600 lumens. He's rolling with it.
he's scared of the dark.
600 lumens.
I'm scared of the dark. I just like to
It's
see.
all right.
Uh,
bub.
yeah.
600 lumen Cree
You're scared of the
LEDs
dark.
will get you in the door. Sammy's his stuff is so bright.
Does that give you a sunburn?
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
radiation burns.
Sun poisoning.
General P. Peel.
I was just going to say I don't have anything too exciting other than I'm a failure at fishing so far this year in Pennsylvania.
You blew it.
So I went out real briefly on Sunday. I mean, in my defense, I was trying to be like the great Wayne Campbell. I was throwing some big swim baits.
Were you?
Were you really?
But didn't catch anything, and then so I got frustrated with throwing smaller stuff and still didn't catch anything. So for 2017, I've
You
yet
scared
to
him off
fish
with
in Pennsylvania.
You can't throw like a 12-inch fish at another 12-inch fish.
You know what? I can do whatever I want.
Do you need to set up a guide
Yeah, I
session
gotta
with
get-
Ryan Madera's daughter?
I gotta get Ryan's daughter to come show me
She'll
the
put you on the
ropes.
trout.
Yeah, because I'm fishless in PA. I caught all those perch in Maryland, and then I come to
Yeah.
PA, and it's like I don't know how to fish or something.
You'll get it back.
Throw a fork out there.
Apparently,
So we got a show.
We got a show.
Yeah.
We got to take a break first.
yeah, I got to stretch.
Yeah,
I'm all
after that story.
pooped out after that.
I am.
Those striper stories.
You almost fell asleep.
sorry.
there. That was tiring.
They weren't even on poles either.
Yeah,
I skipped over so many details too. I wish Catfish
Oh,
was here.
bless your heart.
Yeah, but anyways, we'll be back.
All right.
after this. Are you tired of feeling tired? Not enough energy to hike up that ridge to your favorite tree stand anymore? Are your joints too sore to swing the fly rod this season? Do you want some one-on-one attention to improve your overall health and well-being? Then contact Corey Brown, licensed massage therapist and personal trainer. Corey can help you relieve pain, improve your posture, and become a better version of yourself. If you're in the Harrisburg, PA capital region, call or text Corey at 717-315-8884 or send him an email at coreybrownnlmt@gmail.com. Schedule a personal consultation with Corey and start looking and feeling better today. Don't forget to tell him you heard about him on Rutten River Pursuits.
So, what kind of show do we got today?
Special show.
This is a very special show.
It's very special.
Special and deep.
Ted Nugent on?
Yeah.
Better than Ted Nugent. This guy has more heart and soul than 10 Ted Nugents combined.
That's possible.
Tread Barta.
Nope. The Blind Shaman.
What?
I
Didn't
heard.
you know? Didn't we tell you?
Yeah,
We're continuing the Get to Know R2 series.
You guys did, in all honesty, warn me that this was coming.
Yeah, at least you had
Third
a heads
installment.
up.
Yeah.
You had a heads up.
You did too,
No,
Kyle.
I didn't.
Like an hour or something like that.
Basically, you did.
Basically.
Yeah.
I just knew I was next. I didn't know which podcast it was going to be.
The next one.
The next one.
Yeah, but I never know which is the next Get to Know R2
Like every
series.
Thursday we do a podcast.
Yeah, but every Thursday we don't do an R2 podcast. It varies. Sometimes we have people scheduled.
Could be
sometimes
the
we
next one.
You never know.
don't. Investors, possibly you.
If you want, we can do you again if you don't feel
Yeah.
like
Are you
we have
ready?
good
No,
shit.
no,
Kyle,
I'm
we're
good.
going to start the lightning round with you.
I'll defer the floor again.
No, Phil.
Yeah, so we've got
Thought so.
Phil Buckman, also known as the Blind Shaman,
Or Pappy.
or Pappy.
Now, Pappy.
Yeah.
Pap Hall.
Third installment in our Get to Know R2 series. You ready?
I was born ready.
So
So this guy is literally the glue that holds us together. Some people have called him a big toe.
That's you.
what?
You're the big toe, Sergeant Holka.
Some also refer to him as soul man, lover of everything, needer of no gifts. Because remember that.
That was one of my favorite parts of an episode was
Just your love, guys.
that was
all we need is love and bibs. That was a good show.
I'm just freestyling here. You guys want me to keep going? yeah, go. And you did.
I get when I get rolling, I can get rolling.
You sure did. But it was real.
Yeah.
It was real. It
And,
was,
and heartfelt.
yep.
That's all you're going to get from me.
Yeah.
I mean,
He's also the tamer of water pheasants.
and sea grouse.
Sea grouse.
Yeah, because when they you still use lead with them.
Oh, yeah. Thank goodness. It's about, man.
Awesome. So let's go into a little bit of a lightning round where we just fire some rapid fire questions, and then we'll get a little deeper.
No pun intended. Thank you.
But
We're going to ride with that wave, huh?
yeah, oh yeah. I mean, it's a big make a big splash.
It was.
Yeah. Phil, where are you from? Originally born.
Peoria, Illinois.
Favorite beer?
Bell's Two Hearted Ale.
There you go.
Favorite food?
All of it. Favorite food.
That's all right. This is the lightning round. All of it.
Favorite
good.
food. Bacon.
You can't pass.
All right.
Bacon.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome. What's your favorite, crossbows or regular bows?
Regular bows. The string rifle is down forever.
Oh, man.
What?
I'm not. I missed that goal last year. It's not going to happen this year.
Have you shot it this year?
Yes.
Favorite color?
Green.
Deer or waterfowl?
Waterfowl.
Who was your favorite president?
Ronald Reagan. In my lifetime,
Whatever.
Ronald.
It doesn't even have to be an American president.
Yeah.
Whoever.
I would say in my lifetime, Ronald Reagan. Of all time, Abraham Lincoln. Both from Illinois.
Really?
Yes.
Go get stuff. Where's your favorite vacation spot?
That's a good one.
Key West.
Yeah.
I'd have to say, yeah. Key
Why were you
West.
there?
Oh, what?
And why didn't you tell us?
About 6 years back, we went with my my brother-in-law. Got married there, and it absolutely. I'm not a beachy type of person,
You're very beachy.
but
Yeah. You
This is
scream
news to
beachy.
me.
but for being an island, I wish I could go now, knowing what I didn't know the first time. Definitely would go out fishing 2 days.
Who's your favorite superhero?
Batman.
Oh, good choice.
Hey, didn't we just have an argument about this one a couple weeks ago?
Batman.
I thought it was Superman.
No, I went with
No.
Batman.
Yeah.
Mine's catfish.
Yeah.
The Marvel catfish.
The Marvel.
Favorite auto manufacturer?
What do you like about
Did
that?
you spring a leak, Sammy, on that one?
What the heck?
What the heck?
You love their injectors.
Not the
Like that 6-0.
not the 2004 6.0, but yeah,
It's like your baby.
baby with a transplant.
What's your favorite color?
We already did that. He
Green.
said green.
No, did
Where have you been?
Sammy,
Is this
that.
like a cop interview? You're trying to
Yeah.
trip me up?
Good cop, bad cop.
Good cop, Sammy cop.
I bet you any money if we went back and played it back, I think Sammy's the one that actually asked that question.
I think he was.
Ask him what his favorite color was.
Yeah.
No,
All right.
Play it back.
Phil,
We didn't ask him his
Democrat or Republican?
Libertarian.
Libertarian. I like it.
No, I registered Republican. I'd probably vote more constitutional than anything.
That's all right. Lightning round. Baitcaster or spinning?
Spinner. I bird's nest those bait casters all the time.
Man or woman?
Woman.
Wait, are you a man or a woman? Or do you
I just
prefer-
It doesn't matter.
Either way, it's
Either way.
Hey,
It's safe.
this is a lightning round. No asking questions on top of questions.
Yeah.
Saltwater,
bad.
freshwater.
Fresh.
What's your favorite color?
What the hang?
I think that concludes our lightning round.
enough lightning round already.
No more lightning.
All right, Phil, talk about your family a little bit.
At which point in my life?
Start at the
Starting
beginning.
point, yeah.
I was born in Peoria, Illinois, like we learned in the lightning round. And to just quickly go through it, my mom and dad adopted me. I was 7 days old when I came home from the hospital. Very lucky. Two most special people in my entire life, who unfortunately I did not have the fortune to enjoy later into my life. I lost both my parents before I was 31.
Wow.
2 years apart.
Wow.
But a great gift. When they picked me up from Peoria, Illinois, they took me to a little town called Cuba, Illinois, which is in basically, best way to describe it is west central Illinois. And then
Cuba, like C-U-B-A.
C-U-B-A, Illinois, a little town. My dad was a principal of the high school there.
Probably just west of Champaign.
It is west of Champaign, just probably west and a little north. But then from there, we moved to the next biggest town, the next big town about 5 miles up the road named Canton, Illinois. My dad was the assistant superintendent of schools there. Wow. My mother taught reading, and that's where I grew up until I was through the third grade, turned 9 years old, and we moved to Chicago. My dad got another job in Chicago, a better job to help his career, and we moved to the northwest side of Chicago to a town called Mount Prospect. It's near another suburb called Arlington Heights. That's a little bit more well-known out and about. There's a big racetrack there. And that's where I basically grew up until I graduated high school and attended University of Missouri in Columbia, Missouri.
What? So you moved so much because he
had gotten
promotional
transfers and jobs, working up the line in school administration and,
gotcha,
and into bigger school districts for bigger challenges. And I was fortunate every step of the way. I was fortunate enough to live in a small town, live in a medium town, and live in a huge town.
Yeah.
Did you make friends?
Once we settled in, it took me a while. I mean,
really?
Yeah. I mean, it was a tough move for me. I came from a small town, and kids were already established in their cliques in a way by the fourth grade. You're not you're not a little kid anymore, but you're not a junior high kid.
Sure.
But, it took me about a good couple of years to settle in. And I finally got into my groove with that. And I loved growing up outside Chicago. It's a lot of great experience, good memories. And then I was fortunate enough, my folks were both from Missouri, and my mom's family was, farmers or cattlemen, and I got to be outdoors and learn, how to take care of cattle, how to take care of chickens, how to, we hunted a little bit, and that's back when my cousin and I were able to, we were 8, 9 years old, walking through the woods with 410s and 22s all by ourselves hunting.
Yeah. In Illinois?
No, in Southwest Missouri. I mean, this was back when kids could do that.
Ma's kid.
Yeah, my mom's side of the family was southwest of Springfield, Missouri, practically Arkansas, about 12 miles north of Arkansas.
Okay.
Beautiful country, great trout fishing down there, and it's known for some trout fishing. I learned how to swim, and some of my first fishing was in Table Rock Lake.
No kidding.
It's
a good place to start.
It's a great place to start. I have some of my fondest memories at that lake with my mom's family, camping and fishing and cooking out, and just, I mean, that's what we did for fun. We all came 1 week out of the summer, and that's what we did. All my cousins and my uncles would take us water skiing and tubing, and
nice.
And then back to Springfield. I got to watch a store called Bass Pro Shop grow. I remember Bass Pro being based out of Johnny Morse was selling Bass Pro products out of his father's liquor stores, which were Brown Derby liquor stores in Springfield, Missouri. And then
wow.
I never really realized Bass Pro Shop was that big. It had been around with the big store, but you just never realized when it opened, because that's what the tourists did.
Yeah.
And it was overnight a huge sensation. So pretty proud of the roots, and having the Bass Pro Shop, just kind of growing up with them. And
so I know your exposure to the outdoors goes back pretty far. Who is your single biggest influence in the outdoors, or is there a single biggest influence?
Well, my dad was definitely not. He was not an outdoors guy.
Not at all.
Not at all. He was a clean freak. everything had to be clean and every in its place, and he had horrible hay fever. So I mean, allergies and fall was out. No way. I mean, just wasn't my dad's cup of tea.
Sure.
But my uncles, my Uncle Marley, they were huge bird hunters. Quail and pheasant were quail more than pheasant were huge in Missouri, and they were actually still in numbers where guys up until about 15 years ago could pretty much hunt them any Saturday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They wanted to go out and get their limit, but again, it's gone. But I always looked up because it was just the tradition, the fun. They would go out and we would wait back and couldn't wait to come home for them to come home and see what was in their kill bags in the back of their their field jackets and eating quail and sitting around the table and hearing the stories about the hunt that day, and I guess the Little House on the Prairie feel that
I was just
came along with that.
I was just going to say, it sounds like you had like the ultimate American childhood growing up.
Best of both worlds.
Yeah, like everything that
Chicago style pizza and some quail hunting.
Yeah. I have stories like, 1 week I'm going to school in Chicago and going downtown for a Cub game, and then the following week I'm down in Missouri and we're hauling hay and cutting cattle, and my uncle's flipping me off the back of the truck. We'd come out. There's this story. My cousin Chuck's a few months older than I, and we came out of this field, and you go through the little culvert, the ditch there between there and the clay gravel road. And my uncle, didn't have the tailgate on for hauling hay and throwing hay out the back and whatnot. It was his farm truck. And my cousin and I were sitting there at the back of the truck with our feet dangling off, and we came up and he bounced us up when he hit the road with the back set of tires. And if I had gone up a foot in the air, I probably was up there 4 foot. And wouldn't you know, there is a caller.
What? Hello?
I think Will hung up.
Hello? I had to call in. I heard you guys say my name.
Clay.
What?
Clay?
Is this Clay?
Don't act like you don't know who I am. Stevie told you. I was going to call in because I couldn't trust him with a little bit of a question that I had for old Philly boy.
I'm not your messenger boy, Clay.
I can't trust you anyway.
Well, I'm sorry.
You don't even wake up to go fishing.
How does Clay know about that?
Were you keeping tabs on Stevie, Clay?
He does.
I know when he leaves.
Well, that's right. He is Stevie's neighbor.
What question do you have? I'm kind of impressed you're calling me.
Is this your show or mine?
Last time I checked, it was 1/8 mine.
Clay, come on now. It's his night. Don't be picking on him too much.
Clay, what do you got out with it? Come on, bud.
Okay, so I know that. Pipe it down there, boy.
Clay's ornery tonight.
He's hot tonight.
Yeah.
I've been thinking. It's Easter. I usually do a ham in the smoker, but I knew it's going to be Phil's episode, so I've been dry rubbing all week.
Wait, Clay, what have you been dry rubbing?
All week.
My question is what's your favorite meat?
That's a great question.
That is, Clay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for calling and asking. I would have to say a pork shoulder, Clay.
Huh?
A smoked pork shoulder, or
Clay.
how would you prepare that?
I would brine that pork shoulder first, and then throw a dry rub right before I present it to the smoker for probably an 8 to 10 hour smoke.
What do you mean present it to the smoker? Do you genuflect?
If it's a Pascal.
That sounds great. I got to get rolling.
Later, bud.
Hey, thanks, Clay. It's good to hear your voice,
Thanks
Clay.
for calling.
talking, Clay.
Not.
Whatever.
Such a weird guy.
Hey, bye, Clay.
Oh, Stevie.
He's a strange bird.
What did you do to him?
I know. A little bit of neighborly tension there.
He said, pipe down, boy.
I don't know what his deal is.
He's a little.
He's pissed at you.
Found a dead squirrel in the yard the other day. I threw it in his, and ever since then
He put that in the smoker, didn't he?
he's been all irritated. I don't know what his
He's a
name.
little
I wish
jammed
you would
up,
have
that
told
guy.
me that before I let him call in. I probably could have turned him down
You
or
can
something.
edit that out, can't you?
Speaking of when he called in, I was up in the air on something, I think.
You were riding
Well-
in the back of a.
We actually got another question from the Madeira camp who couldn't be here. Phil, if you could spend a day in a ground blind with any person, real or fictional, who would it be and why?
Wow.
That's a lot to
That-
spring on someone.
That is
Especially throwing the fictional
huge.
in there.
Yeah.
I would say if I'm in a blind hunting and who I would choose as far as hunting wise, I would have to go with Ted Nugent because who knows what would happen in that combination.
Can't even imagine.
You know, and
You
that
two together?
that conversation and where that could lead with us. I mean, it could
Probably
be
lead to an out of body experience
yeah
for both of you.
for both of us, definitely.
I mean, it would definitely hit you right in the pump station.
Oh, I mean, I'd be nervy the entire time, and especially like when it came to killing, I'd have to impress him, and because he's like
Slow and smooth.
he's a slaying god, and just a general righteous
He's
dude.
a righteous dude.
He's kind of like Ferris Bueller.
Cat scratch fever.
But of all historical, I would love to have a chat with Ronald Reagan. He's somebody that has intrigued me through my life. I mean, our country was in a really low place, and that's some of my first memories. And he came in and he made it was America again. I mean, he made us proud after Vietnam, after the 60s and the protesting and discord. He truly did come back and unite us. And he was a common everyday man that did common everyday things that weren't published, that aren't very well known.
Were you? So you're a little bit older than most of us, so you probably remember a lot of that firsthand. You know, of the Reagan era, then, right?
And the 70s, I remember lines for gas, just not having enough gas with the oil embargo from the Mideast. I grew up in Canton, Illinois. Had one of the major employers there in town was International Harvester. Caterpillar was huge out of Peoria, Illinois. That employed a ton of people. And then the other major employer were coal mines. And they all took huge hits during the and you hear the news pundits talk about the Rust Belt. Well, Illinois was a part of it, just like Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania. We all took hits during those times for one reason or another. Pennsylvania, because the steel wasn't being used by Caterpillar, by International Harvester. It was tough times. People lost jobs. It was not. And then the Iran hostage, and it was one thing after another.
Do you feel like that some of that comeback that you're referred to with Reagan, you see the same thing happening now?
It's way different. Trump is nowhere the statesman Ronald Reagan was, and I think Ronald Reagan was the last true statesman we'll ever see as president. Who did it with class? He loved America. He saw America as, to quote him, as the shining hill, the shining city on the hill. As an example, he believed in that dream, and since him, that dream has really faded. He was a man of integrity, a man of his word. I do get glimpses of that from Trump, but. No, he can't hold a candle to Ronald Reagan. I mean, Ronald Reagan's speeches, I can go back now and listen to them forever. I mean, because his words still ring true, if not truer now.
So, Phil, fast forward. So, Phil grows up, goes to college in Missouri. How does Missouri Phil end up in central Pennsylvania?
I moved back to Chicago, worked a few jobs, got into the healthcare industry. Within managed healthcare, I was in managed healthcare, not just healthcare, meaning HMOs, PPOs, insurance. I got on with a startup company where I got my foot in the door with their IT department as well as being in their claims. And I just transitioned right into IT. Needed some experience on the commercial and Medicare side instead of being in Medicaid for a while on this particular software platform. Came here, was going to just work here for a year and get into consulting and move back to Chicago and use that as my hub. Well, that year I met my wife, Dustine Radel, and she's 2 years younger than I am. And we met at work and we became pretty good friends. I mean, there was we started off as friends, and after a while we kind of started
Became more than
having
friends.
some special feelings. And it
Guys kicked it up.
and we kicked it up a notch. And at the time, she had a son, and we had to be careful. We wanted to be respectful for him, not to confuse him any. And didn't need to be bringing somebody into his life that may not be there. And as we decided that things were going better and better, we would become more a part of his life. And I eventually married her and adopted him. During the whole process of early on in my marriage is when my folks had passed. I was lucky enough to have, we were lucky enough to have both my folks. My dad was ill when we got married, but he was able to come here. The best 2 weeks when he was diagnosed, as far as health-wise, was during our wedding. So we were blessed again there to have Dad to be able to come out here and share that with us.
Yeah, that's huge.
So then we got married, and that was 9/11/99. Before the events.
Sure.
Yeah.
So how did that all? How did you then become involved with this group? What is that? That's really
Well, speed up. I lose my parents. I get out of the consulting business for IT and for managed healthcare, and I took a year sabbatical to kind of enjoy my newborn baby, which is now my 14-year-old son. And I decided that I needed to take the lemons of losing my parents to cancer and 26 months combined of their struggles and in and out of hospitals and taking them to doctor's appointments to make lemonade out. My dad always had told me to, son, when life hands you lemons, you make lemonade out of them. And after I lost Mom and going through it, Dad's words were ringing through my head, and I became a nurse to take care of people, to take a little bit of what I felt to help others. Now I went into ICU work, med-surg ICU, and dealt with some pretty grim situations, dealt more death than life, and moved on.
Learned a lot of coping mechanisms.
A lot of
too.
coping mechanisms during that. Lost a lot of myself, though, too. I
You're
mean,
one of the stronger, dudes I know. Like, if I was there was a crisis in the hospital, it was, you were one of the dudes I'd need there.
oh, I took it serious. Every patient in the bed was my mom and my dad to a certain extent. I wanted to give that care to people, and I took it serious. And if somebody wanted to live, I'd do everything I can to help them live.
Yeah.
But if somebody didn't want to live anymore and it was appropriate, I'd do everything I could to help them.
Yeah.
Help them out in a
Keep 'em
dignified
comfortable.
manner. And during that process, working in the hospital and in the ICU, I would come to this place called interventional radiology because a lot of my patients needed special central lines. We don't need to get into that, but it's specialized access for delivering medications or for dialysis. And Will Miser,
Who's that?
Optimizer Prime, our big toe, worked there, and I was the guy that I would joke around, and I grew up. My favorite show was watching MASH growing up, so it was dark humor. It was always revolved around death and war and horrible things, and I've always been able to still laugh during while being serious and doing my job, but I can also able to blow that steam off because we are dealing with such
Yeah, it's
serious
so heavy at
heavy
times.
all the time. You got to cut that fart or do something, just do something to alleviate the tension.
Yeah, people. Yeah, it would wreck if you didn't know how to cope with it. It'll wreck you. It'll wreck normal people. Just don't do it for do that stuff for a reason. And I don't think we're normal.
I think now looking back at it, it's the most warrior I've ever been in my life, probably. And I'm a shepherd. I'm a peace lover. I'm not that person, even though I struggled to think that I need to be. And then I ended up coming to work in IR, and that's when Will and I started our friendship. Instead of being acquaintances, we truly became friends. And,
Yeah.
And how long ago was this?
oh wow. What, 4, 5, almost 5 years now? 4.5. But we've known each other since I worked in ICU. So heck, that's 2006.
Yeah. Yep.
So
So then meeting Will, becoming closer friends with him, you then
he
got more involved.
Well, he always heard I was interested in hunting and was willing, but just never really had access. I'd never had anybody to enable that side of me to bring that out, and I've always wanted to. I'd learned already to fish. I was an established love to fish, and I would say a decent one. Through the ice, I was.
Did you ever fish with Stevie or catfish?
No, not yet.
Weird.
Why is that? I'm begging you.
It's something we're gonna be changing. I mean, we're stuff
begging you.
and we got to remember we've been doing this for what, a year now.
Not even.
Not even
Yeah, and so
6 months.
we'll get.
We got time.
We got a lifetime ahead of us too. Not that I'm.
When did you? Were you part of Post Outdoors, or did you come in?
Yeah, you brought me on like the last year.
He came
Before-
in when it was going down
Yeah,
for real.
towards
Like, what was the first thing you remember from Post Outdoors?
going to the Frog place for our meeting after the Great American Outdoors Show. What, 3 years ago, maybe
Oh, in town here.
in town here in E-Town.
Oh yeah, were you there? Yeah,
Yeah, I was there.
yeah, the duck.
Lucky Duck.
The Lucky Duck.
Duck.
Yeah, the Lucky Duck, the Frog. What a
That was like our first official meeting. It was like we were going to elect board members, and they were like,
yeah.
Really?
Uh-huh.
We had a CEO.
What?
Yeah.
Maybe we should do that again.
I don't.
Have a board. No, you don't.
It
want a
worked
board
really
of
well.
directors. Yeah,
It worked really well.
everybody.
We can
That-
just select our own titles.
I guess I came at the beginning of the end, but more importantly, I was here.
That wasn't the beginning of the end. That was
the beginning of the beginning.
That was the beginning.
And I'll never forget that trip to Jaffa last year and coming home, and that's kind of Kyle and Will and I
That was a good trip.
started the
what?
Princess bed.
big leap off the big leap off the cliff. Really, I mean, what has become now
Yeah.
our two pursuits.
That's only
Yeah, we chatted with some other podcasters and different things, and we kind of started the ball rolling.
then we had 4 months of trying to come up with a name.
We had to rebrand
Yes.
that whole process. But back to Phil, like, are you a podcaster? Do you love podcasting?
I do. I do love podcasting, guys. I will.
You got the biggest grin on your face.
I will say I do love podcasting.
You're not
And-
lying.
And I would probably be the first one that would rather pick up the mics than the guns.
Really?
Yeah. I would love to hunt, don't get me wrong, but I feel like my job's to podcast. The shooting, you guys, the general can go, that's his job, shooting and killing. Catfish, shooting and killing. Stevie, catching fish. Kyle, you doing the self-filming and the killing like you do. Will's a businessman, but he's a killer as well. But I like this. This is gets my creative juices going. I like the spontaneity. I love it when the nights that we get in that zone. I don't. We do it often, but we get in that zone where we're giggling and the jokes come off and we're playing off of each other, and then we move on a little bit, and then somebody drags us back down, and it's. I love that process, and I like the ensemble cast that we have compared to like a Martin and Lewis or a duo.
Yeah,
I love this more like the Little Rascals, you know, a little bit more of a choir effect. And I think we do. And I like how that we can feed off, and someone may not be on their game, but who knows? Someone comes out of the comes out of the dark that normally isn't the witty one, and boom! Next thing you know, they're the star that, and you don't know it. And
what's your favorite? Like, if you could pick a time where you laughed. I mean, if there's probably 10 times over the course of the last 6 months podcasting, 9 times that I've laughed the hardest, your name has been attached to it.
but
so what's that for you? And I mean, I could probably rattle them off right now, but what's yours?
I don't know, because what makes you laugh is when 9 times out of 10 I didn't realize I did it.
Oh my goodness!
Until you guys come back with it. Like, I guess the Greater Skyways and Byways is one of them.
That was a good one.
Or let me, like you earlier, let me freestyle.
Yeah,
I'm going to freestyle.
What was the linguistical
cunning linguist?
No, that was a verbal repercussion of my
reverb of my
physical
lingual,
reverb of
lingual
my lingual technique. Yeah. That was a physical reverb of my lingual technique.
I honestly don't even like. They just come out and I put words together and it happens. It's kind of like Muhammad Ali. I
think mine today.
I don't mean to compare myself to the great linguist Muhammad Ali, but
I think mine was when we were at the Great American Outdoor Show with the seagrass and the water pheasants.
Yeah,
when we were trying to sell waterfowl hunts for Captain Mark.
Yeah. We didn't sell any.
Stevie and I literally went on for 20 minutes with that spiel. And we came up with a whole bit. Really,
it was all because of that guy saying how things changed when they wouldn't let him use lead anymore.
Lead, like it ruined his whole hunting experience.
Yeah.
I'm like, dang, I should have been born in 41, not 71. So I missed the heady days of fowl season.
So, Phil, how what would you say, since kind of coming into the group, what would you say your biggest moment was, or most enjoyable moment was? I mean, whether it be podcasting or hunting or fishing, like what did you have a moment where you're just like,
fondest memory of Rotten River Pursuits?
Yeah.
I would have to say the day in the duck blind where Kyle caught me with one of my monikers.
Oh yeah. So
that will live forever. We got
one or like 3.
Well, when I made the migratory, and I can't use the full term, the migratory blue squiggly, using that for another.
So we were like, he handles the ducks, he handles the geese. He's calling and calling and calling, and Phil looks like in this particular scene where we actually videotaped, like he's like I don't know. It just seemed like a Winston Churchill or like a 5-star general just standing up there. He's got a cup of coffee. He's looking out over the battle scene, and he's like, there's ducks everywhere, and there's geese everywhere. They're coming in, and then he just says out of nowhere, "They got a migratory boner."
It's true. I mean, I love. Thank you, Sammy. Thank you, Will.
I mean,
I'm living. I'm not shooting quail, but I'm living that little boy's dream when I go migratory fowl hunt.
Yeah.
I thank you. I another thing on my hit list for the summer is to get me a ground blind, because I want to step up this game. I have way too much fun doing it. Can't get enough. And this season, the year before this past season was nothing but a tease, and for this season to come around, because I was really amped up, and the weather just
season was awful.
It happens, yeah.
And it happens.
But that's the thing about it, is like when Sammy calls it, 8:30, 9 o'clock at night and says,
Night.
tomorrow, is going to be epic. You need to be in the field at 3 in the morning. It's like that's when it just being that you can't prepare. I mean, you can only prepare so much, and
You don't know when you're going to get the call.
you get the call and you got to go.
Yeah.
And my learning curve is short. I'm mid 40s.
Yeah.
I wasn't a kid watching my dad do this. So, and it's, I'm the oldest one on the podcast, but I'm the youngest hunter.
Well, Stevie's never hunted,
Steve, I was
So to
trying
speak.
I was trying to help him out.
Yeah.
so to
That's
speak.
okay.
I just want people to understand Stevie's.
No, I'm not 100.
Steve is a great huntsman.
But just in general, being in the blind and I love that camaraderie. I like I love the duck blind because there's more than one of us. But I also like being in the ground blind, one-on-one with somebody because I feel like we can get a little bit deeper into subject matters and into each other. I learn more about you guys and more what makes you guys tick.
Phil's life at times is like there's a lot of ups and downs, a lot of highs and lows. The one time where all that stuff kind of goes away without question is the ground blind. That's just, it's calm, it's peaceful, and sometimes, depending on what we had for lunch or dinner the day before,
It can be a CDC
Not so common.
no-go zone.
But I mean, when we're in the blind, we're typically like it's business for a little bit, but then we can depending on what we need to get out.
And by little bit, you mean like business, very.
Like during the magic hours, we try
We try to lock it
try to
down.
focus, yeah.
Lock it up.
And be quiet and listen.
But then it turns into like this psychiatry couch.
for both of us too. I mean, because it helps me as much because it helps me check myself and talk to my brother man and to make sure is this something that I'm going am I crazy on this issue, or hey, I need to ask you a question. What would you do? I mean, it depends on what's striking us, what's going on, what may be going on with my family, or what I'm. Sometimes I pick up on that Will needs. When I'm with Will, hey, you all right, bud? Because without getting into, I don't like to get into details because I do like to keep the trust with what's said in those situations are kept there, and that's also a bond that
Well, that's one thing I definitely noticed about you, Phil. You're almost like a sensitive alpha male, where you are very comfortable in your skin and who you are, but at the same time you're not afraid to be yourself and open yourself up to others and let others kind of share their stuff with you too.
That's my mom. My mom taught me to be more sensitive, to be in tune with people's feelings, to express yourself, not to be afraid of that. I look at all that as a strength. A lot of people look at it as weakness. I'm not afraid to cry. I'll cry in front of all y'all. I look at it as a strength, just like I look at. I can admit my weaknesses. I'll talk about my issues before I'll even talk about yours. But
It's an
but I'm going to tell you something. We talk about mine. We're definitely going to talk about yours then.
It's an absolute strength for sure. But it's like crazy to me because it's like you see so many like older gentlemen, 45, 50 years old guys where they're like, this is how I am. Like, I don't care. This is how I'm doing it. Like, I've been doing it this way for years. And it's like, you're like, to me anyway, like from what I've experienced, it's like, you're like the polar opposite. You're like, well, hey, like, how can I learn this? Or how can you show me like how I could do something better? It's like,
but that's why we're here. I mean, that's why I want to hunt. That's why I want to fish. That's why I want to be in the outdoors. We are here for experience. I mean, I'm just not here to be Dusty's husband and Tyler and Bryce's dad. I'm here also in this world as a soul with fellow souls for a reason, and it's not about what goes into a bank, what we put in on our shelves, or what we put on our walls in our homes. It's the general adventure.
It's the destination. It's not the destination. It's the journey.
It's the journey and the photo album and the memory album that you create,
And the connections.
and the connections with your fellow souls.
I always like to say, like, what, we're not getting any younger, and what are you going to do starting today, like, to make memories on your, like, for your deathbed? You know what I mean? What are you going to remember? What do you want to remember?
Well, that's all I can leave behind to other people is memories of times with me and memories of me, and hopefully it makes a difference in their lives that ripples on. If we could all do a little bit of that, the better off we all are.
Yeah.
And coming here and knowing that we would get into this because of being, inevitably with me, we do get into these kinds of subject matters. And I've pretty much determined I'm not necessarily a people person. I'm a soul person.
Oh, you had me going there.
I almost slapped you.
Yeah, I was about to punch
I'm
you
not.
in the throat.
I mean, it's not that it's
All lies!
it's not Dr. So and so that I'm into.
This last hour and 20 minutes has been lies.
It's not necessarily the man that sits across from me right now in Kyle. It's more the soul that's inside the body that looks like Kyle. That's breaking everybody down to the common equal
Yeah.
measure.
Right.
So what's your nickname? What's
Uncle
on the
Bob.
back of your hat?
On the back of my head, it's Blind Shaman.
Blind Shaman. Who gave you that nickname? Do you remember?
I
know?
believe it was Will.
Was it?
Oh, yeah. I always joke around, and I said, that at the end of a hunting session with Phil. Yeah, it like I said, we'll be on point for a while, during the peak hours there, the magic hours. But then, if there's something on our hearts, it's going to come out. And there's been more times than not where he's helped me through something or talked me through something I was just from that point on, it was like he's the blind shaman. He's like this, and it's not even like. He's not even going to tell you something that is outside of yourself. Like, it's really just super obvious truths that you can probably deduct for yourself, but he's just going to bring it to light, like, right now. And you're going to, it's like kind of like this obvious, oh man, I totally was overlooking. I was too close to the project. I was whatever. He's just going to, kind of like, look over here. That's, kind of thing.
I'm also not afraid to call out that pink elephant that sits in the middle of the room. Sometimes
Right.
It makes things feel uncomfortable because I feel like if somebody just removes that, then life can get back to normal and not being so tension filled. You just need somebody to come up and pop that balloon real quick and get it over, and everybody can move on and carry on. But this group of guys, I'm honored that you guys even call me the Blind Shaman. I mean, it means a lot that I actually can make a difference and continue to make differences in people's lives, because you guys certainly do in mine. I mean, you've given me the world, and you're helping me learn new things and taking me into new areas. And just like with this podcast, Will is given me something that I haven't done in a long time, over 20, 25 years, and that's a creative outlet.
Yeah, buddy.
That's something that we just talked about here recently that I didn't even realize that I had missing. And this is something that's helping me out in my life. I mean, as far as getting back to being a happier person, somebody that was happy-go-lucky back when he was 20, 21, and not so much of the rigors of losing two very special people that you already felt as gifts being ripped out of your life, then getting into nursing, dealing with death and dying all the time, and people who can't realize that, and keeping their loved ones alive and torturing them and not understanding the gifts that they have before them already. It's just
being, being upright and appreciating it.
Yeah. And now it's time to shake that cloak. I had to go through that part of it, and now it's back to the lighter things now.
Very cool.
Absolutely.
So
You're a special man, Phil Buckman.
You are. You're a deep, kind, gentle man.
thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you for being the life coach of R2.
The light coach.
The light coach.
Let it be known that you guys help coach me in life too. I mean, it does go both ways. I do gain kernels of very valuable life lessons from each and every one of you.
I think we all can take a lesson from this one example from Phil before we wrap up. It's like sometimes, like when Sammy gets all jammed up, Phil goes, "Sammy, I love you." I love you too, Phil. How about it, Sammy?
Yep.
It breaks them every time.
It's the reset. It's the reset button.
It kind of makes me feel like Crocodile Dundee with them Doberman pinchers. Like,
Yeah, it's a reset button on the General. It's awesome.
it works on catfish too.
I think it works on everybody.
It does.
All right.
Works
Well,
on
guys,
me.
where can they find us?
www.ruttenriverpursuits.com.
They can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. But last but not least, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Podcast, or no,
Castbox.
Castbox. I'm
Come on.
sorry.
You blew it!
I'm the worst PR person ever. Fire me.
Don't tempt me with a good time.
Real quick,
Oh,
we
wait, put the axe away.
It's classic Kyle.
we need to take 5 seconds and congratulate Catfish for winning the Patient Care Gold Star Award.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Congrats
so-
there.
It's a big
Uncle
award
Catfish.
for him
Big
in his
award.
industry or profession.
Huge.
It sure is.
Yeah.
So,
So,
Especially
congrats,
in
buddy.
the world of political correctness and a guy like Catfish.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that is like, I want to go shout it from the biggest mountaintops because
but we don't have a
correctness
mountaintop.
Doesn't.
We have a microphone.
We certainly do.
Certainly.
Congrats, Catfish.
Congrats, Catfish.
Thanks, Phil.
Thank you, guys. It's
Yeah.
been a great night.
Yeah. And make sure you listen next week because we have some exciting stuff coming up next week, guys.
We do.
We do.
We're going to have to talk about that.
Yeah.
All right.
I didn't get the agenda.
Well,
What the heck?
it's a secret.
Later.
Bye.
Later.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Rut and River Pursuits podcast. Follow the R2 Pro staff by searching Rut and River Pursuits on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Until the next episode, we need to see you in the outdoors.